Hello everyone, it's Amanda, and today I'm bringing you my ultimate full coverage makeup tutorial for when you have acne or hyperpigmentation or scars. Whatever you got going on, this is going to cover it without looking cakey and crepey and just all the things you want to avoid, okay? But it took me a long time to get to this point, and I've learned so many tips and tricks along the way to prevent your makeup from looking weird when you're wearing full coverage. Here's something about full coverage makeup. It looks really good in camera and in photos, but a lot of the time it does not look good in person, trust me. So this makeup look that I'm going to show you today is kind of like the best of both worlds. It looks really good in person and it wears a really long time throughout the day, but it also looks good in photos and in videos. So I can't wait to show you how I achieved this. So let's get right into it. Okay, so first things first, when it comes to full coverage makeup, you gotta moisturize accordingly, okay? It's gonna be different for everybody. I used the Rhode Glazing Milk with a little bit of the Tower 28 SOS Skin Cream. I really love this combo, but again, what works on me might not work on you, and what doesn't pill on me might pill on you. So whatever routine you use, do it before you apply makeup. You cannot forget skin prep for full coverage makeup, okay? I've got this situation happening on my chin. I've got an active breakout that I made worse by picking at, and oh, guys, I'm so bad for picking my face. I know you shouldn't, but I just cannot help it. I don't know if any of you watching are like impulsive with it, but like it's a serious issue that I'm trying to overcome. Anyways, forget all the other concealers you've tried, okay? You need this one. You need the NARS Soft Matte Complete Concealer. I'm using the shade Chantilly, so pretty light. I'm just going to apply this concealer on top of any problem areas that I want to completely cover up. This is a very high coverage concealer, but it is not cakey, which is why I love this concealer. A little bit goes a long way. I actually call this product my magic eraser because it magically erases any blemishes, any discoloration. So you can see I've just applied the concealer and I haven't blended it out. That is intentional. You're just gonna wanna lay down the concealer for this step, and then we're gonna blend out the edges later. Once you've applied that concealer on top of those blemishes, you're gonna wanna soften the edges a little bit. So I'm just taking a small flat brush and I am blending out those edges, leaving the center where I need the most coverage still opaque. I'm not actually blending that out at all. I'm leaving it full coverage. So as you can see, the coverage of the concealer is still very much intact. All of the redness is covered, but the edges where I applied that concealer are blended out. The centers are still fully opaque and not blended at all. Before I move on to foundation, I'm gonna apply a little bit of my Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Setting Spray, and I'm just gonna mist that over my face, just a light layer. This is gonna lock that concealer in place so it doesn't move around too much. Now for foundation, I'm going in with the One Size Turn Up the Base Full Beat Liquid Foundation. This is what the full size bottle looks like, but I'm actually gonna use these little minis today to find my perfect shade. I'm still not totally sure what shade I am. I'm gonna mix Fair 20 with Fair 10, and hopefully that gives me a perfect match. So I've mixed those two shades together on the back of my hand, and this is what we're left with. It looks actually like a pretty good match. Right off the bat, this is my first time trying this foundation. By the way, this is a very thick foundation, but let's see how it wears on the face. So I'm applying that foundation with my Hourglass foundation brush. This is my holy grail foundation brush. I don't really use anything else. I'm pressing it into the skin, and because this is a thick, full coverage foundation, I'm going in with very little product at first. I really recommend going in with less and then adding more if you need it, rather than going in with too much and then regretting it, because once you apply too much, it's really hard to remove it. If you have dry skin, you could also use a damp beauty blender to blend this foundation out. It's really up to you, whatever method you prefer, as long as you're working in thin, even layers. That's my biggest thing. A common misconception about full coverage makeup is you need to apply a lot of makeup, and that's just not true, and I'm going to be showing you that today. Okay, so I think the foundation matches pretty good. I'm looking a little pale and washed out, but that's okay. I'm going to show you how to add dimension back into your face. I will say, upon first impression of this foundation, a little goes a long way. The consistency is quite thick, so personally for me, I would highly recommend going in and moisturizing super well before you apply this foundation, and even exfoliating beforehand if you are super dry, because this foundation will stick to dry skin patches if you don't go through the proper preparation. Now for concealer, I'm using a very popular full coverage concealer. I'm going in with the Tarte Shape Tape, and I've actually grown to love this concealer a lot more, but it's about how you use it. I'm using the shade Porcelain, and as you can see, I don't have any major blemishes poking through. That initial base routine covered everything up, but I'm just applying concealer in the areas that I want a little bit brighter and a little bit more full coverage looking. So underneath my eyes, a little bit on my eyelids, around my nose, and maybe even a little bit around my mouth and forehead, just for that added brightness, like I said. But you can see I'm not applying a ton of product. I'm keeping it very minimal, but it still gives me the effect that I'm looking for. And it looks way better in real life than if I would have applied a ton of product. It just doesn't look good in real life when you do that. Okay, so that is concealer complete. I didn't apply very much product, but you can see I have a very full coverage effect. This is gonna prevent excess creasing. This is gonna prevent cakiness. Here's a small tip if you do have more mature skin and you want full coverage, especially under the eyes. I don't bring my concealer all the way up to my lower lash line. I actually avoid any areas that are more prone to fine lines. I'll apply less product there because it's not gonna settle into those creases more later. So don't feel like you need to bring it all the way up. Just apply it on top of any darkness that you wanna correct, and you'll end up realizing that less sometimes creates a very high impact, still natural looking effect. Because the whole point of this tutorial is showing you how to do full coverage makeup without looking cakey and weird. We look kind of like a ghost. Time to add some dimension back into the face. So I'm using Makeup by Mario Soft Sculpt Shaping Stick in the shade Light Medium. This is a pretty high impact contour product. I like to warm it up on the back of my hand first, and then I go in using my Refi duo-ended brush. I pack the color where I want the definition to be, and then once I've got it laid down the way I like it, I will flip the brush over, use the duo-ended fluffy side, and that side of the brush really just airbrushes and softens the look of the contour so that it looks very natural and blended. I'm really just focusing that contour on the outskirts of my face. I'm putting it on my cheekbones to give my face a more lifted appearance, as well as on my forehead, just to bring a little bit of bronziness to that area where the sun would naturally hit. And then whatever's left on my brush, I'm gonna run it along the sides of my nose and along my jawline. Now, time for blush. This step really makes me come alive. It adds so much life to the face. I'm using the Westman Atelier Baby Cheeks blush stick in the shade Petal. I'm mainly only focusing this on the apples of my cheek. I'm not trying to overlap too much the blush and the contour. Again, I'm warming this blush up on the back of my hand rather than applying it straight to my face because I don't want to disturb any of those layers that we've built up to this point. So I'm being very deliberate with the placement because I don't want my layers getting too heavy looking. Okay, so creams for the base are all applied. We're gonna move on to the eyes, but before we do that, I just want to set my face again just to make sure all of these layers are melting in together nicely. I'm just using my Charlotte Tilbury setting spray. For the eyes, we're not really doing anything crazy. I do want the full coverage base to be the star of the show, and we're gonna return to our base later, but I just wanna get eyes out of the way. I'm just gonna do a really pretty, universally flattering eyeshadow. I'm using, you guessed it, my Makeup by Mario Master Matte's Neutrals palette. I get so much use out of this palette, it's actually crazy. When I bought it, I wasn't sure if I was gonna use it. I think I've used it almost every day since I got it, actually. I'm gonna be mixing these two shades together on my Rephr 01 brush, and if you watch my channel, you know how obsessed I am with this brush. If I could only have one makeup brush, it would be this one. It does it all. I'm not even like overhyping it. I'm obsessed with this brush. I'm just basically gonna contour my eye. So I'm gonna take this into my eye socket, define my eyelid a little bit, and then I'm gonna do the same thing on the lower lid. I'm just gonna use the exact same brush and drag that onto my lower lash line. Nice and easy, super quick. Look how nicely that brush blended out that eyeshadow. Oh, it looks so good. It's so quick. I'm gonna add a little bit of brightness to the lid, keeping it matte. I think I'm just gonna mix these two lightest shades together. This is a Rephr 28 brush, and I'm just gonna pack that onto the lid. I like to do this step because in my opinion, it makes the biggest difference to make your eyes look more open and awake and just overall complete. For liner, I wanna do a rich chocolate brown liner, so I'm going in with this Makeup Forever Dimensional Dark Brown Artist Color Pencil. And I'm beginning by just mapping out a pretty rough, not perfect shape for what I want my liner to look like. I'm keeping this more so towards the outer half of my eye, and I'm also trying to be pretty light-handed because I want this to look pretty natural. And then once I have that general shape that I want to go with, I'm going to pick up that same eyeshadow palette and an angled brush, and I'm going to pick up this rich dark brown color. I'm just going to press that right on top of that Artist Color Pencil we just applied. This is going to set that eyeliner into place, and it's also going to give me a chance to just perfect that shape. I love a dark chocolate brown eyeliner as opposed to a black liner, but one thing I do think is really key, especially when you're doing like more full coverage, full glam makeup look, is this step right here. I'm taking my Dior Show Stilo. This is their matte black waterproof creamy eyeliner pen, and I'm just taking that and I'm gonna tight line my eyes. Basically that little gap of skin in between my eye and my upper lashes. I'm gonna coat that with a layer of black liner because this really makes the lashes look a lot longer, and in my opinion, the eyes are just not complete without this step in more of a glam look. And then one more little thing I like to do is I like to take a nude eyeliner. This one's by Swede. This is their Bright Satin Kohl eyeliner, and I like to put that one in my waterline. This also makes your eyes look really bright and awake and just more white. So I'm gonna do a few lash clusters, but these ones are a little different than what I normally use. These are by Kiss. These are their press-on lashes, so they come pre-glued, so you literally just press them onto your naked lashes. And yeah, I'm excited to try them out and see what they look like. So what you do with these is you pick them up with a tweezer and then you place them underneath your lash, being careful not to touch the bottom part where there's glue. And then once you do that, you can pinch the lashes together, just not the part that has glue on it. Otherwise, you're gonna pick your lash off, and there it is. Okay, so I didn't film the entire process of applying those lashes because it was a little bit tedious. It was my first time using them, so it took me a minute to learn how to use them, but they look really good. So I'm gonna play around with them, try them a little bit more, and then get my finished thoughts when I'm more confident in the application. I'm gonna try putting mascara on top of my lashes because I applied them on top of naked lashes, so I do wanna see how they look like with mascara, so I'm going in with my L'Oreal Telescopic Mascara. I'm just applying a thin coat to the lashes. Okay, so that's what those lashes look like with mascara. It actually looks really good. I was a little nervous to see if they would stay on my eyes while I applied mascara, but they did, and they look really nice, actually. Now I'm gonna go ahead and apply some lip liner on my lips. They're looking a little bare. I'm going in with the Charlotte Tilbury Lip Cheat in the shade Love Trap. This is a really pretty lip liner. It's a little bit darker than my natural lip liner, so I tend to use this on more glamorous looks like this. This lip liner in particular is really good at lasting all day long, so that's one of the reasons why I love the Charlotte Tilbury formulations. They are a little bit dry, so you do have to work accordingly, but this color is so pretty, and it works really good for overlining your lips. Okay, so we're actually gonna jump around a little bit and do things in a bit of a weird order, I know, but trust me, there's a reason for this. Now we're gonna do powder, and I'm using this new one by Makeup by Mario. This is their Surreal Skin Soft Blur Setting Powder, and I'm using the shade Fair Pink. And I'm just gonna take a little bit of that powder in the cap, just like that. As usual, I'm gonna pick it up on my one size powder puff, and I'm just going to rub the excess in on my hand just to make sure the puff is evenly coated. And that concealer has not creased underneath my eyes at all, and that's because I didn't apply too much product. But we're gonna set that. I'm just gonna press that powder right underneath the eyes. I'm gonna set around the mouth and chin as well, especially on top of those breakouts, just to make sure all that product that we applied does not slide around. And then a little bit in between my brows as well. I tend to get a little bit oily in this area. And then whatever is left on the puff, I'm just gonna set my lip liner with. With a full glam makeup look or a more full coverage makeup look, you don't want your lip liner wearing off halfway through the day because it's gonna look weird. I feel like the lips really complete a more full coverage makeup, so that's why we're doing this. It doesn't change the color of the lip liner too much. It depends on the powder you use, but this really locks that lip liner in place. This is gonna last all day. I have been loving this lipstick lately. I just rediscovered it and it's such a good color. This is Clé de Peau Triumphant Tawny Lipstick. And if you also have fair skin, this lipstick, let me just show you. Oh, it's just so good. It's definitely a little bit pricey for a lipstick, but you can't beat a good lipstick color. And honestly, for me, like, I'm gonna use this whole thing, so I know I'm gonna get my money's worth. I've been bringing this around with me everywhere. Like, look how perfect that color is. Oh, it's a good, like, one and done lipstick. It's not too light, not too dark, but it still gives me that perfect pale nude that I really like. And obviously, if you know me, you know I'm a gloss girl. So I'm going in with my very own lip gloss that I created. This is the Charis Cosmetics Water Gloss. I think I might have created the glassiest, shiniest lip gloss ever. I am just obsessed with this formula. I'm so proud of it. My lips are extremely dry right now and it's my own fault, but this lip gloss just like fills all the little lines and wrinkles in my lips and make them look like just so plump and juicy. Obsessed is an understatement. So now is kind of when I like to go in with my finishing touches and powders to go on top of those creams. I'm gonna go in with a little bit of blush, and I'm using this Hourglass Ambient Lighting Unlocked palette. This is the Butterfly shade. These are limited edition, but you can buy these powders separately from Hourglass. I kind of want to mix these two shades here for like a nice light berry shade on the cheek. And these are perfect to go on top of a more full coverage makeup look because they're not heavy at all, and they give the skin like a little bit of luminance without like being shiny. It just kind of brings life back into the skin. These are also a little bit pricey, but so worth it. This formula is just like unreal. By the way, I always apply my powder brushes with a Rephr 04 brush. That is what I'm using right now. It's got a nice little angle to it, and it just hugs the cheek so nicely. And then I always like to go in with a little bit of highlight when I'm wearing more of a full coverage look. I also feel like this brings some life back into the skin, so I'm going in with this middle one right here. Super natural highlight. If you don't like chunky, glittery highlighters, you're gonna wanna try these because they give the most natural finish. Just watch. Look how pretty and natural and soft that is. And you can just build this up as much as you want. Catches the light so beautifully. What did I tell you? Are we looking cakey? No, I didn't think so. This routine is seriously fail-proof. It works so well. All these little tips and tricks that I set out for you throughout the video make such a difference. So make sure not to just overlook the little things when it comes to doing full coverage makeup. Things like working in small layers, finishing with light powders, setting spray in between layers, those kind of things you don't want to forget. So I hope you learned something valuable in this makeup tutorial. If you did, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and please subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.